join me here tonight on Classic TV with a true pioneer of the international dance music scene, Jeremy Healy. How are you? How's it going?
Great, thank you. I'm very happy and very well.
Very happy and very well. What have you been?
Well, you get to my age,
yeah.
you get to be happy about being well. You know,
Good.
as it gets harder.
Happy about being in Corby as well.
Corby's it's been a big step for me. I've just come back from Thailand and Singapore last weekend, and this weekend I'm in Corby. But it's actually, I'm not a snob about where I play or anything, and it's really good to try all different things and go different places.
Sure.
Next week I've got a really bizarre weekend as well. I've got Stonehenge, then Butlins, and then this really posh wedding. Like 3 gigs in 2 days.
Crazy.
And just you couldn't have a more disparate
and diverse
3
weekend,
gigs than that. Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to it. So.
That's cool. Well, last time you were here, you absolutely rocked it, and you said you were.
I can't remember what I did.
Well, it was really good. I remember.
Oh, that's not bloody good, is it?
And kind of your sets are always really eclectic. What do you sort of plan to play? Do you plan your sets, or are they kind of just a kind of organic, spur of the moment kind of thing?
Sometimes I plan it, and sometimes I wing it. But my take on house music, which stems from the pioneers in England, people like Paul Oakenfold and Danny Rampling, when they first started, I went to their clubs, and they weren't just playing like one kind of music. They were playing like U2 and Pink Floyd and Chicago Acid House, and that was the original idea. It was an eclectic idea, and I kind of fight against the idea of what type of house music you play, and then it's got to be the same all bloody night. You know?
Yeah.
So I kind of not into that, and I like to. I'm not a purist, is what I think I'm saying. I like to mix it all up, and that's the way I've always been, and I like it. I like to surprise people. I remember before I was a house music DJ, I used to play a lot of hip hop. And I remember once people were really serious about hip hop. This is really early in the 80s. 1985, and they were really serious, and it had to be all hip hop all night. But I used to mix in like Phil Collins and things like that, and they go, "That's Phil Collins." I remember they being really horrified, but then actually realised that it worked. So.
And how did you get into DJing as a career? I mean, I know you've mentioned Danny Rampling and Oakenfold and people like that. Were they big inspirations, or were you DJing at the same time as they kind of emerged on the?
I actually was DJing a long time before that. I started when I was 16 years old, that was. I mean, DJing was sort of one up from the cloak check. It actually was one up from the cloak check.
Sure.
There was no kudos about it. What Danny particularly and Paul. Not so much Paul, but Danny particularly gave it kudos. He was the first one that people started following around and really were into him, And when I saw that, I thought, I can do that. I can do that, and I proceeded to.
Yeah, and well.
But I didn't. It was just a very lucky thing. I mean, organically, I just hit it at the time when it was exploding and going to all these different towns and northern, people places never been before, and just completely taking it for granted. There's 3,000 people there, there's 2,000 people there, and I just like, yeah, sure, and I just really, that's the only thing I regret is sort of just taking it too for granted, because it was an amazing time, and the clubs aren't as vibrant as they were then. The scene isn't as vibrant now as it was then. But at the time I just was like, cool, everybody's great,
And was that
absolutely
something that you kind of realised was happening at the time? Did that Did
I
that?
thought it was always there. You know, I was just
I've
like,
always
these
been
clubs are
famous.
always-
It's fine.
No, it wasn't about me. I'm just talking about the scene.
Yeah.
And I just, completely were like, yeah, of course there's clubs that are all great in all these different places that I've never, and they've probably always been there. That's what I thought,
Yeah.
But I didn't realise that they'd all sprung up in a very short space of time. But I really liked the way that all the promoters and everyone, because I was doing like 3 cities a night, and the promoters would really get on with each other and help each other out, which was the spirit of the house music movement. And unfortunately, after that, when the clubs like Your Ministry of Sound and Cream and they got all corporate and they got kind of snidey with each other, and it kind of ruined it for me.
Okay. And alongside your kind of club DJing, I know you're kind of prolific in the fashion world as well, DJing for some huge fashion houses. How did that come about?
I started a long time ago. I was friends with Vivienne Westwood and Malcolm McLaren in the 70s.
Right.
That's a long time ago. I was only like 14 or 15 when I met Vivienne. She was working in her shop then, and I think Malcolm McLaren offered me a job. I was only like 15, but so I was kind of au fait with that, and that's how I was interested in the way that he put, clothes and music together, and I was really interested in that. And they were kind of fractious people though, there was a lot of rows, so I did a couple of things with them, but then I kind of fell out with them, or with Vivienne, but we kind of made up now. But and then when John Galliano started, I met him at his degree show because my girlfriend was a model in it, and she came on and she had a dead mackerel and a tree in her hair and clogs, and I was just like, I'm not shocked easily, and then they came on and they were throwing all this dead fish at the audience, and the audience was like, what the fuck's going on? It's crazy, And that was his first show, and it was over in 2 minutes, and that was it. And then he just came up to me and said, I know, he knew what I'd done. He'd been to parties that I'd done, and I used to make scratch mix. Well, they were cassettes then. We used to mix dialogue. We used to use like Apocalypse Now and have film, like do sort of cut-ups with tape recorders and all this stuff.
Sure.
Which was because sampling hadn't been invented, or
Yeah.
but the idea of sampling was already there. So I used to do parties with these mad mixes that I used to make.
Yeah.
And so he'd been to one of them, and he said, I know what you do, and I really like it. Will you work with me? And that was like in 1984, and so I worked with him till his demise. No, not his demise, but his fall from grace.
Fair enough.
So we did everything. I've done every Galliano show, and Dior for 15 years. I do Victoria's Secret shows. I've been working with them for 14 years now. Done loads of others as well, but they're my main ones.
And quite some iconic names there in the fashion industry as well as the club industry. It must be great to have that,
They get great budgets in fashion,
sure,
and also you get to play in these amazing places. I mean, I've done the Paris Opera House. I've done the Royal Opera House, sorry. And the only one I really want to do now is the Sydney Opera House. I really want to do a party there. That'd be great.
Cool.
And there's a place there which I was talking to a guy, but it hasn't happened yet. But I'm hoping. And the sound is amazing in there. It's really good.
Good acoustics.
But that we've done Versailles and amazing things, just incredible. And you just wouldn't get them to do a normal party. And you have to have the respectability of a fashion brand.
Well, that's I'm sure you've got that anyway attached to you. Going back to your club kind of performances, there's obviously you were one of the first UK mega names. Who do you respect from the new kind of breed of DJs that's out now? The Aviciis and the David Guettas and the people that are kind of at the forefront of house music now. Who is it that you kind of rate? Well,
I think what's different about it, and in a way it's good, is that they're more technicians and producers. You know, they're actual producers and they're playing their own music, which is really good. You know, and I think that gives it an extra edge. I mean, David Guetta I've known for 20 years. You know, he used to actually hire me. He used to run a club in Paris called the Bandouche, and I used to go and DJ there in Fashion Week. We used to do parties, so I've known him forever and ever.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know he was a DJ or anything. I just thought his dad was a restaurateur, and I know his wife Cathy very well. You know, I've known her for a long, long time. And they were on the sort of Paris sort of entertainment scene really, and they did clubs. They did another one called the Pink Platinum, which was like a topless girls club and things like that, which was real fun. So I sort of knew, I didn't really know that he was working on music. He played me something he did ages ago and I didn't like it. I was like, rubbish. But you know, I think he's a genius businessman, like the best one out of everyone. The way they've done stuff is amazing.
And particularly, I mean, the guys that he's kind of competing with are a lot younger than him. When you kind of see what he's achieved recently, considering how long he's been on the scene, it's quite incredible, really, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and I mean, I think Avicii's really good because he does quite different. Even that farmhouse thing, which some people sort of find really corny, but I think at least it's bloody different, and he does it really well.
Yeah.
So you know, I've got a lot of time for that. You know, I don't know him. You know, I mean, the trouble is with the sound, like Swedish House Mafia, all these people, is that they'll get a sound and it's always it's like three things all doing this. Musically it's very simple, but it's really effective. But what it becomes is people get sick of it, you know, and everybody copies it, and then, you know, it becomes like a cliche and you never want to hear it again.
Yeah.
So it has a very sort of short shelf life.
And what
the production sound, you know, it's a specific production sound.
And totally the opposite end. What do you think to all the sort of Simon Cowell stuff that's infiltrated? Yeah.
Absolutely can't stand any of that rubbish. You know, I mean, to me, it's not music. He doesn't know anything about music. He's a great businessman, and the way he put it together with the record label, you know, is great. But nothing interesting's come out of it at all. Nothing.
And it's a shame because it appears to have killed all the kind of cool one-off individual records that used to be in the charts. You don't kind of get that as much now, do you? It's more...
Well, I think it's weird. I mean, I look at the charts and, you know, you got these house music stuff, sort of undergroundy house records that come in and at number one and then they're gone next week. You know, I don't understand. I don't think the charts are relevant anymore. I don't, you know, I look at them and I try and make sense of them, and, you know, it used to be you know, some kind of achievement, but I mean, when I first started, you know, you were selling like 100 and odd thousand records to get in the charts, you know, to get in the top 10, and now it's like 10,000.
Yeah,
so
completely
doesn't
dispersed.
Doesn't mean anything. It's not
the sort of pinnacle of your career anymore to get in the chart. Cool. Well, thanks for speaking to us. Really looking forward to your set tonight. What have you got in store for later on? What have you got in store for us? Or is it just going to be a...
I don't know yet.
We'll wait and see what happens.
I'm trying to figure it out. I'll go back to my room and listen to headphones. I just got like 24 records just before I got on the train. I'll be listening to them on the train up, so might hear some of them.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for your time. Jeremy Healy, cheers.
It's a wrap.
It is.